Sometimes we know things that we pretend we don't know. And we can fool ourselves up until a point. But eventually, the truth always comes out. All of us grew up watching those interruptions on TV, the announcements from the emergency broadcast system. This has been a test of the emergency broadcast system. If this had been an actual emergency, it would have been followed by official news, information, or instructions. We always grew up hearing that. Well, in 2018, they used it for real one time in Hawaii. And the message that came across the emergency broadcast system was terrifying. They said, we have a report that a nuclear missile is heading toward Hawaii from North Korea. Everyone is advised to take cover immediately. So this man heard it. He couldn't believe it. He's like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die in a few minutes. I can't believe this. And, who knows what we do when we have a moment like that? He decided to get in the tub. I'm not sure if that would help. But he got in the tub, and he put a blanket over him. And as he was laying in the tub, he found himself thinking, what do I want to do with these last few minutes? And he kept getting this nagging thought that his ex-girlfriend, who he broke up with about 6 months earlier, was really the love of his life. He said, I never told her that. I guess I never realized it, but that's who I'm thinking of as I'm laying here waiting to die. She's the love of my life. So he got out his phone and he texted her and he said, I know that it's too late and I know that we're going to die, but I just want you to know that you are the love of my life. And I think from paying attention to the world over the years that it actually didn't happen. It was a false report. And so then he thought, oh shoot. The report was false, but his feelings were true. And guess what? She felt the same way. And they got back together. Funny, what we sometimes pretend is not true, that actually is true. And Jesus says in the gospel, I want you to fall in love with the truth. It's so important in life to fall in love with what is true. His exact words are, consecrate yourself to the truth. Stay utterly committed to what is true. And it will help you in every way. A lot of us are talking about what feels like a mental health crisis in our society. We see a lot of people struggling with mental health issues. It's what we're talking about all the time in schools with our kids. It's affecting all of us. It's probably gotten worse in the past 4 years than it was before. And it's not just our society, it's the whole world. About 30 or 40 years ago, one of the most famous psychologists in the United States, a man named Scott Peck, wrote a book. And he defined what mental health really is. He asked the question, what do we mean when we say we're being mentally healthy? What is mental health? And he said, mental health is being committed to reality no matter the cost. It's when we say, you know what? This is true. I may not like it. It doesn't make my life better or easier. It's not what I would have chosen, but it's true. It's just how it is. So I'm going to face it. He said that's mental health, is when you don't make up some other story or try to escape what is real, what is true. So that means that it's like when we say, the truth about my marriage is, and then we're willing to face whatever goes in that blank. The truth about my relationship with my kids is, the truth about the way I spend money is, the truth about my drinking is, whatever goes in that blank, if we're willing to say, I may not like it, but it's true, that's what it means to be mentally healthy. So committing to the truth, consecrating ourselves to the truth, is perfectly aligned with being balanced mentally. So the fastest way that we have to get to where we want to go, to the kind of life that Jesus wants us to have, the potential that is ours, is to face the truth, even when it's hard. My friend said that he was sitting in his chiropractor's office one day and he saw a sign on the wall. And at the top of the sign it said, "The 5 most dangerous words. Maybe it'll just go away." Maybe this leaking sink is going to stop. Maybe the drip's going to stop someday. Maybe this bad hip of mine is going to heal itself. Maybe it'll just go away. And we hear in the first reading that being consecrated to the truth means taking a look at the situation with honesty. Peter says to all of the apostles, "Listen, I'm not any happier than you are that Judas is gone. I kind of can't believe it. I can't believe Judas betrayed Jesus. I can't believe I denied him. But Judas isn't coming back. Judas is not coming back, and we have to face it. We can't keep thinking maybe he'll come back. He's not going to come back. We can't undo what happened, but we can face it and we can go forward, being committed to reality even when it's unpleasant, no matter the cost. Being consecrated to the truth is also going to help us with our moral decisions too. That's what's going to help us with our moral decision making, because that is what is going to help us know what the right thing to do is. A lot of us struggle with, I've got a choice between this or this. What's the right thing? And I know a priest who says, the right thing is actually not that hard to figure out if you use this litmus test. The thing that you want to choose, can you be honest about it? With everybody? Is there anybody you'd need to lie to about that? Like if you're choosing something, as long as you could tell your spouse and your kids, as long as you could tell your boss and your friends and your coworkers, as long as it could wind up on social media and you'd be okay with it, totally fine. It's kind of the litmus test. If you don't have to fib about it or hide it or cover it up, it's probably fine. So what Jesus says is true. The truth really does set you free. That's how we know we're on the right track. I don't need to hide this. I'm not saying to people, don't tell your mother. I can actually be open about it. If I can be open about it and I don't need to cover it up, it's probably 100% fine. One of the things that's interesting for us to consider is how truthful we are in our prayer. Are we truthful with God when we talk about what our problems are? That's one of the things that we're called to do most of all. It's hard for us because we sometimes don't want God to know the things we're really dealing with because it's embarrassing. And we want to look better than maybe we really are in front of God. But we know that God knows everything. We know that God can see everything. So trying to pretend in front of God is hopeless. It's kind of like putting on a beautiful outfit and makeup for an x-ray. What good does that do? I'm all dolled up for my x-ray? Makes no difference. The truth is going to come out in the x-ray. How you look on the outside isn't even going to show up at all. And so a lot of times we need to check in with ourselves to see how honest we're being with God. There's a spiritual author who says, sometimes it's the ugly prayers that God must love the most. The ones where we're really just being honest. Where we say, you know what, God? My ex, I am not planning to forgive them at all. I know you said to forgive. I'm not going to do it. And here's why. And the author says, when God hears us pray like that, God says, yes, finally. That's the most honest thing I've heard you say all week. Now I've got something to work with. Now I can help you. Because now you know that you're stuck there. So good, great. Now I can help you. I can work with you. As long as you pretend, no, I'm going to forgive. Well, if that's not true, then how am I supposed to help you do that? So this week, we are being asked to consider, what is our relationship with the truth? Maybe it's best to be specific. What's something that I know is true that I pretend I don't know is true? What in my life is a truth that I kind of just turn away from, I don't like to think about? If I were utterly consecrated to the truth, what would I need to face? that I'm not currently facing. It's important for us to recognize that the truth is going to be our fastest way to where it is that we want to go. And it's not always going to be easy. There's a saying that I love. It goes, "The truth will set you free, but first, it will make you miserable." How true that sometimes is. But if it's true, it's what we most need. The fastest way to get to where we want to be is to fall head over heels in love with the truth.